Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Sorry it's been a little bit of a late thing. It's just been life, work and life and everything. I live in Chicago, around that area, and so everything's getting boarded up. Everything's getting padded up, picked up, and stuff like that. So it's been a lot of stress. I would say to everyone here that you should plan something for November 3rd. Just plan a way to stay safe. I mean, hopefully, and I pray that it's all talk, but you never know. 2020 has been really, 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 really weird. So it doesn't hurt to have any safe plans. My mom told me to have 5 plans because I'm working the election day and the day after election day. So that's going to be a pretty frightening thing to see. If anything happens. Hopefully nothing does. So yeah. Also, I've been working on the Warhammer figures. I finally got all my Warhammer figures out there. I got a starter set, which made me realize a lot of things very interesting about Warhammer. Number one, the plastic feels really good to hold. I didn't know that it was like such soft plastic, which the problem is also it's really soft plastic. So a lot of the stuff I clip is delicately put in. It doesn't look great yet. I haven't primered anything, but whenever I'm tired or bored or whatever, something I need time to just create, I just pop those things open, pick a few out, make a couple of models, and then have a rest for the day. I'd have to say so far it's been a pretty good investment, and I'm glad that I did it. I'm also glad that I tried to experience with buying some more stuff and just upgrading my life rather than holding on to hoping that there's going to be a day where I can afford an apartment, because let's face it, in this economy, who's going to be able to afford anything? It's like that ad in GTA where they're like, are we just going to have, is the future just going to be all places we can't afford and foreclosed houses, God, I hope that's not true. But I've taken this time to reassess about what I want to do in life, and understanding that, yes, getting an apartment is good, but I think that there's a lot we can do now and just hold on to some money for later. You know what I mean? So, other than that, that's what I've been up to. I've also been taking the liberty of just trying to chill and trying to figure out days of like getting out and going places, especially. This is why I went to Games Workshop to get the kit. I went down to down further south into the south suburbs, the where it stops, where the border gets to the point where it's like, if you've ever been in Illinois, there's the meme that like Illinois is just entirely Chicago, and then there's also this other stuff. Where I went to is kind of like this other stuff, where it's the weird part where like the countryness of Indiana, I believe, and the ruralness of rural Illinois like come out, and they sort of weirdly merge and stuff like that. But it was a nice place to be, a very nice shop, very small shop. Only had one person running there, and God bless that man. He's working hard to give us a fucking hobby. And he was very nice, and he helped me, introduced me to all the stuff, made me understand all the stuff. He said that, because of COVID policies and protocols, they don't have people come over play games or paint. But one day, when all this is over, they'll allow people to come over and play games there and paint there, which I think is my goal. Certainly is to play games and paint there one day. So far, it's just been slowly getting all the kit together. So today, no one really gave me any inspiration to talk about much, so I decided to talk about some modules that I run. Specifically, most of this is going to be the one that's my favorite, which is Monster of the Week, which is good because it is the holiday season, was the holiday season for Halloween, and now we're going to face the real existential fear of COVID and what the fuck is going to happen to America. So, why not play a game where you shoot werewolves in the head with magic shotguns, or get a demon bag or something like that? I don't know. So, you know, basically, Monster of the Week follows the idea of things like the Dresden Files or Supernatural or whatever. It's used from a system called the Apocalypse World system. And the Apocalypse World system was a really good and really flexible system by Evil Hat Games that has many different variations on the system. Excuse me. Apocalypse World was basically the first one, and it's all about the apocalypse, and it follows that sort of convention. Then we have Masks, the next generation, which is a superhero theme. We also have Scum and Villainy, which is a spin-off of the Powered by the Apocalypse system, and that spin-off is called Blades in the Dark, which is essentially Dishonored, but they couldn't afford the rights to Dishonored, you know? Instead of Dunwall, the place is called Duskval. They have a group of people that basically operate like a lesser form of those with the mark, you know? But it also does a lot of things that are intrinsically different and interesting in a different way than Dishonored's worlds. Both worlds are interesting, but one is interesting for a different reason. Definitely. But Monster of the Week is all about whenever. You can kind of place it whenever. You can place it in medieval times. You can place it in now. You can place it in the future. It doesn't really require much to work with any of that, honestly. Most of the modules insinuate that you are doing it within the present day, but, it could change. It could completely be different. And the goal of Monster of the Week is that every week you and your group fight monsters or a monster, and it's a whole mystery. Like the Dresden Files or Supernatural, your group is called for some reason. Maybe they're a traveling group of ne'er-do-well monster hunters like Sam and Dean. Or maybe they're a group of magicians or otherworldly people for hire, like James Dresden. Which I'm starting to read the Dresden Files as well. I'd rather listen to them on the audiobook, and it's been very interesting. Maybe, you make up your own reasons, and you fight these monsters every single week. You can also include overarching stories and stuff like that. All you need to play this game is 2d6s for each person, or you can share the 2d6 around. And that's the fun of this. Like, unlike D&D where you have to get the whole die set going, I mean, most importantly, of D&D, you need a D20, but it can kind of get a bit annoying with the die set, the amount. 2d6s is fine for Monster of the Week. That's all you really need, and I think that's very interesting because with the limitations of just 2d6s, it makes it so that every single thing is malleable in a way. It's not hard to think about, right? It's not hard to imagine something, right? And instead of using a lot of math to determine... Excuse me, I yawned there a little bit. Sorry about that. But instead of using math to determine things like, percentages or whatever, even if it's a small amount of math in any tabletop, you risk sometimes losing people, like losing newcomers. Like, I love Lancer. I love the setting of Lancer. I love the story of Lancer. I just can't play it because it's just way too much number crunchy. Same with Shadowrun. But Monsters of the Week, 2d6. This anything under a 6 is a failure. Anything above a 6 is partial success. Go from partial success to a critical success. That's all you really need to know. And instead of playing class types in the typical way, your characters you play as are archetypes. So, for example, the classic one that the game starts you out with is the Chosen. And the Chosen is good because it also introduces you to, like, every single version of, like, whatever is out there, right? So, for example, you get something like, I don't know, their Chosen has a destiny thrown upon them, right? And the gameplay, and it helps the GM as well, is that this character has a destiny they either want to go to or want to run away from or whatever. The point is that becomes an easy way to write something in the game. The monstrous has a monstrous curse. They're a werewolf, they're a vampire. That's instant drama. And I think that this game and games like it, like the Power by the Apocalypse stuff, are great because they easily make a way to encourage character building without directly going, boom, build your character. Here you go, build your character. I think D&D can kind of seem like a big thing because of that main factor, is that you can choose classes, but the character building is up to you. And if you're like some people who are new, they get overwhelmed with a lot of the ideas, like where do I start? What can I write? And the answer is literally anything. And you can kind of do that with Monster of the Week too. You can do that with Monster of the Week, but it gives you a focal point to start off. It gives you the building blocks. Every archetype gives you the building blocks. And there are some that I like, some that I'm impartial to. There are also homebrew archetypes that you can play as well. There's also, I also own the Tome of Mysteries, which has a bunch of pre-made campaigns, pre-made sessions that can be extended into campaigns if you want to try hard enough with it. But the game also operates on everything having a simple, interesting thing, and that is you can fight the monster as long as you want to. But the problem is, and this is very, very, very specific to a DM, you can do this as well as you want or not. I tend to end up, because most of my DM sessions are very meme heavy, I sometimes kind of forgo this sometimes, but you want to also strike the weak point of the monster, right? Every monster has a weak point. And just like a TV show, it's not easy as just shooting the werewolf full of lead. You want to get like a silver bullet, or maybe you want to plan until the time is right. There's weaknesses. There's levels to this. You know what I'm saying? Vampires have weaknesses and strengths. They can. It depends on what type of vampire you want. The vampire that can only come in when invited, etc., right? Or you can do the typical crazy ass vampire stuff. But what this does, I think, is gives a GM an easy way to write a character out of a tough situation, write your monster out of a tough situation, right? You add more struggle to the team, Again, you can always make up your own stuff. You don't always, you can make up your own monster, really. You can make up your own villains. You can make up your own heroes. You can make up your own factions. It's so easy to make stuff with, and that's what I like about a system, is if the system gives me the ability to create stuff rather than having to sit down and read a bunch of lore and this. I really want to sit down and create stuff. And for those of you who don't know, it's basically a little bit of homebrew, but for those of you who are interested in doing a homebrew campaign or hearing about homebrew campaigns, let me put it like this. Like, everyone, it's like coffee. Everyone has their own type of brew they like with coffee. Maybe they like a dark roast, a light roast. They like more cream, more sugar. Maybe they like it straight up black, But the point is, everyone has a different sort of way that they prepare their brewed coffee, way that they drink their coffee, way that they make their coffee, right? And some coffee isn't for everyone. You might not like someone's roast. You might not like coffee at all. Hell, maybe you like a pre-written campaign or pre-written stories. No problem. No fault with you there. And more power to you. But that's the thing about homebrew. You kind of just have to dabble along until you get it right. And just like making coffee, you as a DM kind of have to dabble along to see what you really like in a campaign and what you want your campaign to be about and how much detail you can put into a campaign. I honestly barely put a lot of detail into anything in D&D because I find out that if I put too much detail into it, I love something too much and I cannot let it go. And that's my weakness, is like, if I make a character or something, I make a storyline or I make a world too much, I get addicted to it and I cannot let it go for the life of me. And that saps away part of the fun of D&D, which is part of its intensity and part of the way that your imagination can make you run wild in your own mind, if you get what I'm saying, if you're picking up what I'm putting down. So, Monster of the Week is that good of a system. If you're a new GM, it's good because it doesn't require too much stat rolls. It doesn't require too much. It doesn't require too much to understand it. And I think that's the same thing with Cypher system as well. It doesn't require too much to understand it. Like if you were new, if you had no idea about DMing or anything, I think that Monster of the Week would be better. But Cypher system also has that same tenet where it's like you kind of have to unlearn D&D. You kind of have to unlearn traditional ideas of what everything is. You know, there's sometimes not a role for something a character wants to do or what you want to do. So you kind of have to figure out what it is, what type of base it is, And sometimes, with the limitless potential, you can say yes or no to everything. But you got to give a reason if you're going to tell a player no. You got to tell them a reason why it's a no. And when you remove those limits, remove the, this is this role, this is that role, this is this role, this is that role, this is this role, this is that role, right? You create something beautiful where now you are no longer tied down by expectations, where you're no longer tied down by anything. Anything can be a role for anything. Anything can be not a role for anything. It just depends on what you want to do. And also, Monster of the Week is cool because I like fighting monsters, And I had my first real DM experience, and I had my first real DM group that was really kind and nice and dedicated. And, we kind of fell apart because of COVID and just life. So I don't know if I'm ever going to come back to it. But, I that's why Monster of the Week holds a special place in my heart, where I found a community where I finally learned to love being a DM and the secrets, or really the lack thereof, secret. And the secret is, I think Davy Chappie said it the best when he talked about the Matthew Mercer effect, is you got to learn to not hold yourself up so high, You kind of just got to go with the flow, because at the end of the day, what you're doing is just messing around with some friends in a mindscape. And when you do that, when you understand that, it makes it a lot more easier to just write stuff or not write stuff and come up with stuff on the fly. Some people say that taking improv classes helps you become a better DM because it allows you to, go with the flow and you don't get wrapped up in everything. And I agree on some level. I also agree that, sometimes just being a DM helps being a DM, Yeah, that's a lot. And I was barely talking about Monster of the Week because Monster of the Week is so simple and so perfect that there's not much to really talk about with it lore-wise. There's no deep lore. There's no nothing. It just kind of is what it is. You can make up your own rules or not, Another system I like to talk about is, again, the Cypher system. What I talked about before, when I hinted at, was also a very standard system. It only requires really 1d20, and it's a little bit more complicated than the regular system of D&D. I'm sorry, Monster of the Week. Sorry, it's a bit tiring here. Daylight savings is hitting me like a Mack truck. But, what are you going to do? But yeah, D&D Cypher system is a little easier than D&D. All you really need is a D20, and in it there's a little bit more of a wiggle room. Instead of playing a basic character or whatever, you play an adjective, noun, who, verbs, and each one is like a different thing. An image, descriptor, that foci, and those three things can create anything, right? I am slimy, adept, or whatever. So these foci, descriptor, and indicator, whatever. Sorry, I'm bad at remembering all of them. But these three pillars are very interesting to me. I haven't played a game in Cypher System yet, but I just like the fact that these three descriptors are such interesting because they determine your class, they determine your character, and they determine what gift they have, what powers they have, There's some that basically make you Superman. There's a descriptor or foci that makes you Superman. There's a, foci that gives you lightning powers. There's a foci that makes you the Human Torch. There's a foci that allows you to see into the future, which is a really cool one that I would always want to try out, but I'm always kind of afraid of doing that, of giving someone power that basically allows them to see the future, because when you have a character that sees the future, it can really break the immersion for some people in the game. But I think that what it has so far for roles is very interesting in the sense that they've managed one character or managed an idea of making a time travel character. And I just love simple systems like that. I just love the ability to unfold. I love to run a game again one day. I do run a game on Zero Session, and it might come back because, work has been crazy. A lot of backstage stuff has made me have to work a lot more hours than I really would want to, but, can't really complain much. Some people don't have jobs, But one day, I think one of my dreams is to run a game on Run a game on Twitch one day. Join a Twitch group, like a role for it, or a critical bard, or something, and just be a part of that system and be a part of something cool, and maybe help them turn it into a podcast. I don't know. I like editing audio. I mean, it doesn't seem like it now, but because this is a stream of consciousness thing. But I do love editing audio, and it's one of my secret passions, or at least a secret thing that I like to do. It's something at least I'm decent at, decent at. Could be better sometimes, but could be worse. But the more I do it, the more I improve on it. You know what I'm saying? And I like that. It's something I can. It's auditory treats that help me get through the editing process. Just finally getting on and being like, oh my God, there it is. Excuse me. Yeah, I don't know why it's this type of day, but yeah, it's 7:36. It feels like 11. In other news, I would like to say mental health is important. Recently in wrestling news, one of the internet's favorite wrestlers and one of my wrestlers I like the most, Kylie Ray, has recently apparently stepped down due to mental health issues, possibly, saying that she's stepping down from being a wrestler after 5 spectacular years in the ring. And to see talent like that and know that they're suffering, even though I don't know what she's suffering with, but to know that they're suffering is enough of a thing that breaks my heart, And I'm pretty sure that, I've also gone through a lot of mental health issues. I deal with that on the daily sometimes. Maybe not as much as other people, but it still is what it is. And that's why I encourage you, if even if you don't want to, try therapy. I once had a person tell me that probably one of the most bullshit things I've ever heard, which is, oh, therapy is for people who don't know how to cope with their own stress. And I know how to cope with my own stress, so I don't need it. Do you know how ridiculous that sounds? How utterly crazy that sounds? I almost wanted to scream when she said that, kind of. But therapy is more than just that. Therapy is more than just, dealing with your stress and you're cured, It's a lot more. It's a lot deeper. It's a long journey. So stick with it if you're already on it. And if you want to try it and stick with it. Because it's not like a magical center where you get healed, It's not a magical center where you get better after one session. You don't just put $50 into a machine and it makes you better. I wish it would be. If that did exist, I want that machine. But it doesn't. And it won't. So, keep at it. And we'll get through this together. Especially for a lot of people who are, extroverts or people who get their charge off of social batteries and gatherings and stuff like that. It's a tough time for us all. But I want you guys to know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, at the end of all this, at the end of some point. Man. I don't know, man. This headache is killing me. Tired and weary, man. I'm only 23. You know, what do I gotta be tired and weary about? You know? The world is going crazy. You know? Why must I be weary? What do I have to be really sad for, you know? I got a good life. You know? All things considered. But, you know, I think it may be just a human need to want something more. You know? Don't you just want more? More people to belong to, more friends to have, and more chats, more people checking in on you. See how you doing. I'm going good. Or whatever, you know. Sometimes I wish that we would have that. More people would have that. Including me. Just more people to just stop on and check on and ask you how you doing. You know? And there are people who do that, but sometimes it's hard to take the first step for me to say, hey, you know, what's up? So I usually just text people, hey. And that's what I do. It's a mixed success. You know what's causing these headaches is probably that just massive amount of Harold's chicken I just ate. I'm having what we call in the African American circles here the itis. But yeah. Most of the week is probably my favorite system, and maybe I'll get to play it again one day. You know? Maybe you guys, I recommend everyone play it one day. And then one day, I'll get noticed one day. I'll be on a Twitch critical bard, super show or whatever they want to call it, and I'll give everyone a wink and a nod, and you know, it'll be one thing to cross off the bucket list at least, to be part of something that's really big. Not even like big, but just something that feels good, you know, to be a part of. So I just got to keep grinding on it, keep improving myself, keep improving my work, keep improving everything. This is a very chill episode. We're running on like the 20th minute, and it's just been hard to talk about stuff. But yeah, my homework is, and your homework is as well, is just to talk to people and improve on yourself day by day, week by week, month by month, minute by minute. And just know that you are loved. I love you. And I know love is a strong word. I've been told that before, but, you know, I do. I love everyone that gives me, you know, respect and the time of day and comfort. But, that's just me. You can follow me on Twitter at Joshua R.E. Wilson. Maybe I'll figure out something more to talk about today, next week. Sorry, the itis is going on strong here. But yeah, stay put. Love yourself. Alright? Try something new this week. That's my homework for you. Like it always is. Try something new and improve